Okay, welcome. The people that should have been here are all the ones who are in a CasesIS social media group for the data modeling part of the modeling course. And that's about, I think, 90 students or so we're a couple short. I talked already to several of you about exactly what has happened here. Some people have seen Pavilion B2 in their schedule, and apparently somebody took it out yesterday or something else, I'm not sure. For sure it was, it disappeared from my own schedule. So when I was walking here thinking about where to go, B1 or B2, what was it again, and then checked, there was nothing there. So I 20 or 25 minutes ago, sent an email in the vague hope that some of you might still be here, and that works for some of you. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually trying to screencast this now, so I'm taping, I hope, so that I can put this online somewhere, so that all your people have it available as well. So let's see what we're about to do. This is all about the CasesIS social media groups. So I got another guy inside here who said that he also thought he should be here, and there was apparently in a totally other group about coronair vaatleiden, if I remember correctly. In that group, then you don't have to be here. All the information for this, including where we are, and on which date, and all the slides and stuff is here in this link. You can find it all. That's my name, by the way, Chris Snijders, and the cases are called CasesIS. So there is where you can find all the stuff for the group assignment. And in principle, I will not be using Oase for anything. All the material will be on here. I know it's a bit of a drag to use yet another website, but I think this is a bit easier to follow. It's simply one long page with all the information that's there. Okay, so not sure if you got completely confused about what it is that you need to do in the data modeling assignments or course. This is the setup of the whole course in brief. First you have a generic part. On the left you see Tijn Borghuizen, on the right on top Kees van Overveld. They are responsible for that generic part. You have videos there that you need to watch, assignments that you need to make, and peer review is also part of that. Then there is a specific part. There are actually 3 different kinds of specific parts, and you are in the data modeling part. That's one of 3. Ko Ruijkema, on the right over there, will do the lectures, and the first lecture of that will be on hours 7 and 8 today. And you have the group assignments, and in this case the CasesIS or social media assignments. I'm the one on the left. I will be disappearing into the background after today. And you see Daniel Lakens, both here on the left of that row of 3, and in the front right over there. So if you want to see him live, then that is possible too. Paul de Greef is the other one in the middle, and Karin Smolders is the person on the right. And in fact, here online, this is an old screenshot. A bit above this, there you will see that there is an Excel slide with the names of everybody who is participating here in there, and the group in which you are, and that also implies a room where you should be. So have a look. You can download it there, and you should find your name back there somewhere. There might be a couple of exceptions, names that are not in there. These are typically the ones who have enrolled, let's say, in the last couple of days, and there might be a couple of those. Otherwise, you should find yourself back. Okay, so that's the idea. The CasesIS social media assignment is such that, well, first of all, it belongs to the data modeling specialization. It's all about doing something with data. We have group meetings on Thursdays, hours 5 and 6. Now we were supposed to have one group meeting with everybody, so with all 90. But we will split it up in 3 groups, and that will mean that we have about 18 groups of 5. I think we have a couple of groups of 6 now as well. Your meetings are with 30 students, so 6 groups of 5, and you can see online in which group you are. And the whole aim of that part is that you have to deliver one assignment in the end with several, let's say, part submissions in between, and the meetings are meant to help you out in what it is that you need to do to fulfill that assignment. All of that will become much clearer as of next week, but the whole idea is this was supposed to be a big startup meeting. As of next week, you will be together with 5 other groups of 5 in a room working on that assignment. Okay, so roughly the aim and the, timeline is a bit of a big word, but the order in which all this is going to happen is, first what we want to do is answer a research question through data modeling. That's the big aim here. Or if you are, let's say, more practically oriented, you have to deliver the data modeling assignment in the given format. There is a format online, both on the website that I've put online and on the generic one. Within that format, I don't know, 20 or 21 points or so. These 20 or 21 points you have to fill out. You have to put your research question in there, your answer to the research question in there, your stuff about the data in there. All of that we will actually fill out over the course of the next 7 or 8 weeks. The order in which we will do it is first we will need to collect some data. It's a data modeling assignment. We have no data yet, so we have to make sure that we get some data. Then we will come up with a couple of research questions that you can answer with the data that we have just collected. Then you have to figure out how you can answer these research questions with data using a program that's called SPSS in our case. And then you need to report about your findings. And the report about the findings, that in the end will be the actual assignment that you deliver. Okay, the whole idea is that here you see on the left, that's there for you. On hours 5 and 6, we will do that. So data collection, check what's in the data, how do you deal with data at all, what kind of questions can you tackle, what are the answers to these questions, and report about that. And on the right, Co Ruijkema's lectures, the specific lectures about data modeling, are supposed to cover typical topics about dealing with data that should help you. So the idea is that Co is at least running ahead 1 week. So for instance, Co will already start today and we are not there yet, we don't even have the data. So in principle, the idea would be that as soon as you actually need it, you will have heard from Co already how you are supposed to do all that. So the aim is to get that more or less in sync. We have to start with the data modeling, and I simply wanted to say at least once that this is not the normal way of doing things. Normally you sit and think about what a nice research question might be, perhaps come up with a tentative answer to that research question, a hypothesis or two, then an experiment or a survey or some other way to measure things, and then in the end you'll test whatever it was that you thought about, and then you start collecting the data. So data collection is basically done after a long while of thinking and thinking again before actually doing something. But for that, to do that, we don't have the time to complete all this in 7 or 8 weeks. So we have to start with the data collection up front. So we made up a survey, and a couple of experiments are in there as well. And there you will actually see that there's plenty in there good enough to come up with a decent research question that you can actually tackle with these data. Hi. Nice to meet you. Come on in.
Great.
Okay, so the data that we're going to create is all about ICT and social media, sort of broadly defined so that we can measure quite a bit. So it's relatively easy for different groups to come up with different kinds of research questions that you could tackle with these data. So we asked people things about Twitter, about Facebook, not so much about Hives anymore. Hives is so old school nowadays. By the way, Facebook is already close to old school. And these topics we thought should give you enough to think about. And just to help you out a little bit, if you browse around only slightly on social media and what it is doing to people, then you could see lots and lots of things. This is a very, very long infographic, for instance, on the time spent on Facebook or other kinds of social media, what people do there, how many friends they have, which countries are most likely to spend lots and lots of time online, and they're kind of a frightening statistic, the 24%. 1 out of every 4 persons in that survey admitted to actually missing something that was happening because they were either texting or Facebooking about what was happening. So they were there, but they missed it, basically because they were typing about it, which is kind of weird. Now, it says here 4 ways, and I clicked on from those, and then you can see lots and lots of different things that will actually change. One is, well, obviously, you meet more people if you at least stretch the word meet a little bit, because you get in contact with lots of people. But yeah, contact is at a distance, so to speak. So typically for those who are having the idea, I'm all alone in whatever it is that I like, now it's easier to find somebody else who has the same kinds of interests. Then lots of people are complaining about what this actually means. All these relationships, you have 751 Facebook friends. Well, what does that mean? Is that a real friend? Does that count at all? And what does that say about closeness to other people? Is that still the same, or is it totally changed? Then a nice one, contagion. You get in contact with lots and lots of other people, way more than you used to. 45 years ago or so, none of this could have happened. And the weird thing about all these social media things is that there is contagion also from stuff that you would not expect. So if you check, one thing that you could find with these social media data is that if you, for instance, are friends on social media sites with people who are relatively lonely, then who feel lonely, not necessarily are lonely, who feel lonely, then it's more likely that you will start feeling lonely yourself as well. We do not really yet understand why, but it's actually true. If you are connected to other people who are overweight, it's more likely that you will become overweight yourself. So you can think that all this is, overweight. How do you get overweight? You don't exercise and you eat a lot. Okay, that's it, and nothing else. Well, there is something else too. If you have friends who are overweight, and you are in contact with them, even just online, it's more likely that you get fat as well. Then, of course, it's nice to get access to other people who are, let's say, more or less like you. For many people who thought that they have a really weird hobby, this is consolation in some sense, because they can now get in contact with others who share the same interests. The other side is that comparisons are much more easy now, and that is not always a good thing. If you think that you're really good at something, whatever it is, it's now also way more easier to find somebody else online who is obviously much better than you are in whatever it is that you thought you were.
Hi, I'm Jack Vale, and I wanted to see how easy it would be to get personal information from complete strangers.
A nice side to it,
and while I'm at it, of course, freak them out a little bit. Keep in mind when you watch this video, I got all of this information just by searching their personal social media posts, and I got it by searching for the closest Twitter, Instagram, and other social media posts to my current location. Let's go. Sorry to bother you. Is your name Jessica?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jack.
Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you. How are you?
That's my name.
Ashley.
Go online.
Whenever it comes to me and I know who it is, I know it's weird, but I have to shout it out to see if I'm right, and in that case I was right.
By that time, there is already so much information from you online that it's...
Are you Stephanie?
Actually,
how you doing? I'm Jack.
Not really a first impression.
Did you just make that up?
Anymore.
You said that?
No, Elena, right?
Find something.
Yeah, no.
Back that up.
I was just going to say happy birthday. Someone in your family is referred to as Pops. Is it like a dad or a grandpa or something?
You were tripping me out right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Hi, Jack.
Happy birthday to you too, because I know you were actually... I should have said it to you because yours was before hers. But anyway, well, it's been like 7 weeks now or something like that. But anyway, good to see you guys. See you later. Like a little white curly dog, sort of like a little white dog.
Stop it.
That's crazy.
You have a dog?
Paris.
I don't know Paris. Wait.
It wasn't Paris though. It was like the first few letters, like Pear or par or something like that? Am I right?
I don't know. I didn't know she had a dog.
Seriously?
I swear to God.
Blanca or Blanca? Is that, how did I?
Blanca.
It's what?
Blanca.
Blanca. Blanca. Okay. Is that your mom?
I didn't know.
Bear, I feel like, or something like.
Who are you? My coffee is Spear Bear.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cannot.
Recently, like, had lunch, dinner, or something like that. Chicken. There was chicken involved. I know for sure.
Shut the hell up.
I know. Nikki?
You're kidding me.
Is it right?
Yeah.
See what I mean? Yeah.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
You were tripping me out.
Who's like Richard? I keep thinking Richard. What is it?
Richard Parker.
Richard Parker, like Peter Parker, because I had a Spider-Man flashback. Your last name starts with a K. Crow, something like that.
Who told you to do that? Because that's a lie.
Did you lose your license somewhere?
Seriously, did you drop it?
There's some business that you're in, some kind of a business that has to do with cell company or phone company or something like that. Yes? Oh, wait. Is it AT&T?
What the
Who's like Richard? I keep thinking Richard. What is it? Richard Parker, like Peter Parker, because I had a Spider-Man flashback. Your last name starts with a K.
Seriously, did you drop it?
There's some business that you're in, some kind of a business that has to do with cell company or phone company or something like that. Yes? Wait. Is it AT&T?
Okay, so this continues for a while. And these are still relatively straightforward. And another one that I simply wanted to mention is something called relationship maintenance. If you had 4 or 5 friends living 50 years ago in a rural village, even in the Netherlands, then what does it take to maintain your relationships? Every once in a while, you talk to these 4 or 5 people, and that's it. If you have many contacts online, then either it changes for all of us, so it starts getting normal to get an occasional tweet here and there, and that counts as maintenance already. Or we're going to spend much more time trying to maintain our relationships. Not exactly clear up front. And I must admit, in the data that we are going to collect, it's not as detailed as all this, but the data set is about these kinds of things. Then something else is the effect that this is going to have on face-to-face meetings. As you have less and less of these face-to-face meetings, I'll have to check here. What you're going to miss is the fact that if I'm talking to you face to face, then I can look at you and I can read your body language and see if you understand what I'm saying or disagree with what I'm saying or all these kind of things. And a lot of that is going to disappear if you do this through the internet. And many people say that because of this, that let's say human interaction is going to get worse because all the reading up close is going to be gone. That's it. On the other hand, if you simply check a lot of the literature in psychology trying to measure how good people are at reading other people, then usually they typically suck. They're really bad at all kinds of things. So, for instance, trying to understand if you're lying just by what you're saying or by how you are behaving is really difficult. So perhaps we are actually better off if the whole face-to-face part of communication is no longer there. We'll have to see. Let me skip that one because the list is in principle way longer than that, and you can come up with a couple of other ones yourself based on what the data set will in the end look like. Okay, so all this about social media, and we wanted to have also something in there about human behavior, and that we want to understand something about human behavior typically because, well, humans are rather weird creatures. It's not so obvious what they do. I mean, think for yourself. Think about, let's say, the last purchase that you made of a decent size, you know, a new computer or a new car perhaps, or something else that was expensive to you. Then in some way, in the end, you buy something, and post hoc you can come up with a decent argument why you behaved as you did. But at least I have very often the idea that I'm sort of curious what I'm going to do myself as well. Because at some point you're okay, I'm going to take that one, and then you do it. But there is no, let's say, obvious rationale behind it. And that makes that all kinds of precise theories, as you have them in physics or in chemistry or what have you, none of that is going to work. And that typically means that you need something like data modeling where you can deal with the noise, so to speak, already from the start. Okay, so we're going to try that with our own data as well. So this is the idea, let's say the big idea behind it, why the data modeling in itself is useful. On the left you see a big bunch of numbers, and on the right the idea is that you get some knowledge from that big bunch of numbers. And the beauty of it is, well, you know, any fool can read a book, but not everybody can read data. And the whole idea is that we should be able to hand over some data to you, and you get the knowledge from that data set. And luckily, this idea that might be useful is sort of booming nowadays. It used to be kind of geeky in a bad sense. Who wants that? Talking is always better than the actual numbers, and we are sort of at the beginning of an era where this is starting to become less true. A couple of examples where we can actually see that, let's say for sure, tested in science and whatnot, the models are actually really, really good. A couple of examples here. Let's see, let's take that third bullet. No, another one is actually better. Let's not look at business survival probability, but another one that just came to mind. We know from medical studies, for instance, if you ask a surgeon, okay, the person that you are now operating on, is it likely that this person, or how likely is it that this person will live, let's say, 3 months from now? And then you get an estimate from the surgeon, and you compare that estimate with an estimate based on some kind of model. A model about, okay, a couple of characteristics of the person, perhaps also a couple of characteristics of the surgeon, of the disease, and some other material, all the same material that the surgeon can also use to make a prediction. And then in the end, we simply compare. And we test how well did the model perform in trying to predict which of these patients were actually alive after a couple months. And you compare it with how well the surgeon did it. And what you see is the surgeon actually loses. The model does this really, really well. And that's weird in the sense because you think, well, if anybody would know whether or not that person will live or not, it's the surgeon. But apparently it doesn't work that way. Same thing, that's human survival, business survival, works the same way. It used to be the case, let's say, well, at least 30 years ago, there wasn't any other option that if you wanted a loan to start a business, you go to a bank and you ask, okay, I want 50,000 euros or guldens at that time perhaps, or 100,000 or 200,000, and the only thing that you needed was a convincing story. So you make a business case, you give it to a person, the person reads it. If it's not a lot of money, the person decides, okay, it's likely that it will work or not, and you get the money. If it's a bit more, then you ask for more people, perhaps somebody a bit higher up the ladder. And nowadays, a lot of these things are actually replaced by models. So it's not so much that you have to have the compelling case. It's just bean counting, so to speak, and based on that, you either get it or not. By the way, the weird thing is that for the higher amounts, typically most banks still use humans. So there it's working. Evaluating school success. The most well-known examples are from American universities. If you want to go to your American university, you need to apply. So it's like sending a letter of application. And what most universities do is they do not only ask for your SAT scores and all kinds of other scores that you have, but they also invite you for an interview. You could check these interviews does that help at all? In the sense that you get better students than you would have had if you would have simply skipped the interview altogether and just use model-based decision making. What you find is the models work and really, really well. The interviews basically add nothing. So now we get to, let's say, the weird next step. That if we know that these interviews are not working, then why are still these universities doing this? And I think actually one of the reasons is that if you allow students in for an interview, it makes it easier for a university to ask you for money, even for applying, as most universities do. So you have to pay $200 just to apply, and that $200 is, let's say, buying yourself a ticket to an interview, if you're lucky. This is one of the reasons why they have it in. The fourth bullet, sort of a frightening one. If we as a society catch a sex offender, then in the Netherlands typically they end up ter beschikking gesteld, so that's not in a real prison, but it's sort of an institution where every 2 or 3 years or so we as a society decide, is it, let's say, safe enough to allow this person back on the streets. That's the idea. If not, then you stay for another 2 or 3 years, in principle indefinitely. And if we decide that it's, let's say, safe enough to let you out, then indeed people are allowed out. You can compare what works best here, either interviewing somebody and then having sort of a holistic judgment about, okay, I think that it's safe enough now to let the person on the street, or you run the numbers and you get the numbers to predict. And what is found time and again is that these models actually work better. So if you want to be extremely safe, or you want to risk a couple times, even then, a model is actually working way better. Okay, so models can work. We have many examples of those, even though in some of these examples, although the models work, they are not always being used. I realized only a week ago or so that I'm too old to give an example like this, because it's not even likely that you know who this is. This is from Jiskefet. Anybody who even knows what that is? Just a couple. Who doesn't? Yeah, also a couple. Okay, this was funny. When? 15 years ago? I don't know. Have a look for yourself. Here they are. The sketch is about a couple of guys in a sort of a marketing organization. Okay, I won't remember what it was called. Oh, okay. Have a look. And it's all talk and nothing else. So sort of an exaggerated version of what a marketing department would be. A lot of blah blah, but not a lot of numbers. And in many cases, for instance, in banks, you typically have 2 kinds of departments. One is the marketing department. There you find the people who are outgoing, who have strong feelings about which, let's say, next marketing ploy is going to work. And you have the number crunchers, these ones, who have the data, who are sort of shy and introvert, so they have the numbers, but they can't really talk. So even though they might be right, they never get enough leeway to actually do what it is that they want to do. And typically the marketing department has higher wages, way higher wages, than the ones with the numbers. And in more and more banks, for instance, the marketing department is being downsized, and the number cruncher department is being upgraded. So that at least is a bit of a start of the dawn of a new era, so to speak. In the small, we know this. If you've seen the movie, this is a bit more recent, a couple of years ago, 2 years ago or so. The movie Moneyball. This is, anybody who saw that with, who was the guy playing the lead? Brad Pitt, right. Brad Pitt was playing the coach who did it by the numbers. He got some really poor team and had a limited budget, and then he found a number cruncher somewhere who actually had an idea about how to come up with an idea to find better players. Not so much by just looking at the person and saying, I've got a good feeling about this one, but simply running the numbers and then trying to find them. Nowadays this is standard in all these baseball teams. And let's say in the small, we've seen this already longer. You have different kinds of movie endings usually. If you actually still buy DVDs. Anybody who still buys DVDs, by the way? No. Nobody? Nobody is into the booklets that go with it, or the extra stuff that you get, or the... Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. Okay, what you every once in a while see, if you would have bought any of these DVDs, that in the extra stuff, you often see the additional endings that the movie had. So what they do is, when they make something that they hope will be a big blockbuster, they simply tape 2 or 3 or 4 different kind of endings. They have pre-runs in one big cinema where you can have lots of these versions, and then you get to see the early version and have to say to what extent you liked it and what was nice and what was not so nice, and they simply check. So the happy ending, does that work better than the weird ending or than the bad ending? And what you get is simply what most people in the end have liked. So it's sort of a number crunching in the small, so to speak. And that has been around, well, for a long time, I think. Okay, here another example, a practical one, showing that, that data is hot, so to speak. There is a whole PDF online with examples about how cities use data to somehow improve, let's say, the lives of the people in the city. There are interesting examples in here. I won't go into the details here, you can have a look for yourself. But also here, typically the idea would be, all the numbers, what do you need the numbers for? Well, now we've found a couple of uses, at least, for what the numbers are good for. And as another example of the fact that what's called data science, or doing something with these data, is not so, what do you call this? Geeky is, by the way, now not so much a negative term anymore, but it used to be. And something called data science is relatively hot. In fact, it looks like we're going to have a major, or no, a master's of this pretty soon at TUE as well. Okay, just to make sure that I don't come across as, let's say, positing upon you the fact that models always work. 2 major failures in modeling, for instance, predicting stock market crashes or predicting stock markets at all. There we typically know that even though, hundreds of thousands of people are actually running the numbers, trying to make sense of it, it's not really working, and especially trying to predict ahead stock market crashes is, well, we don't know how to do it, basically. Even though some people say that they do know how to do it, but usually this is after the crash has happened, and then usually it's not so, you've lost your money already. It's not working. I was trying to figure out, while I'm reading the second one, if the 0.12% is actually correct. Because that's the second one, related to stock markets and so on. The AAA rating, you must have heard about that. Banks get AAA ratings if they are considered really safe. And you might have wondered, what is that, a AAA rating? And actually there is a real, let's say, mathematical connection to the AAA. It says, well, if you get a AAA rating, then the estimate is that there is a 0.12% probability of not paying out by that bank in a given year. So if you have a AAA rating and you are with a AAA bank as a customer, then the probability that at some point you are asking for your money and that they won't be able to pay is 0.12%. So really low. You could think about, where is that coming from? But at least there is a number there. Somebody has been calculating. However, I thought that I had the actual answer there. It's on the next page. It turns out that the 0.12% is actually way too low. Only a couple of years, this number was not 0.12%, but 22%, which is, well, saying much for the fact that every once in a while we do our best with models, but it's not working. Another one, also in that same weird category, we're trying to predict how well the economy will do next year. And that's in terms of a couple of percent. So we'll have economic growth, if we're lucky, of let's say 2%. And here you see this is the 0, negative growth, positive growth, and from 93 all the way up to 2010, this is the American economy. Here you see the dots there; those were the real numbers. Also here the crosses Those were the real numbers. And the lines over there were the actual estimates by the economists. So it turns out that, well, you would hope that, that you get lots of dots, that the estimate is somewhere in the region of what actually happened. And if you do the numbers here, then you'll see that this is actually really, really bad. If you get a prediction from the economists, as we get every year, and we tend to believe it, then it turns out, well, a confidence interval that would be correct, and we'll talk about confidence intervals and exactly what that is later, but that should be the number that you get from the economists plus or minus 4.6%. So if I'm asking an economist, the economist suggests next year we're going to grow with 1%, that means that statement is, well, it could be plus 5.6 or minus 3.6. Now that is the difference between a hugely booming economy and the worst depression in the last 200 years. So this is really not saying much. So we have models that we know work well and we don't use them, a couple slides ago. We also have models that don't work very well and that are being used time and again. One of the most frightening things about models as far as I'm concerned. Okay, with my apologies for the ones on the right after lunch. This is something that we made locally. We're trying to diagnose skin cancer based on a couple of questions that you can answer on your phone. The idea is there, if you answer 10 or 12 questions about a spot on your skin, then if you do the data crunching right, you can actually predict fairly well if whatever it is that you have on your skin is likely to be skin cancer. And it works rather well. So I just wanted to conclude with something that's actually working, and this one is working. Although, there's an although for all of these, in the App Store or on Google Play, there are more of these applications that are supposed to be doing the same thing that we claim. A couple of these other ones, 5 or 6 or so, have been tested. None of them work, well, basically at all. So all the ones that you will find in the App Store, except for ours, will basically just give a guess. And we're trying to do something that's actually working. I must admit that we have the ugliest app in the App Store, perhaps, but it is working. But we are in competition with lots and lots of other apps who look way better, but don't deliver. Okay, so to do. Up next is this. We have a survey online. I'll give you the link in a minute. And what you have to do is first fill it out yourself. So that will give you a feeling for what's in the survey. You could start thinking already about what kind of questions you might be able to answer with these. And the second thing to do would then be to arrange for 5 other participants to the survey. I'll go a bit more in detail in a minute. And within the group of 5 that you are in, you're supposed to think already about which kinds of questions will I be able to answer with these kinds of data. Now we'll go through that a bit more guided next week within the meetings as well. But this is something that you have to start doing already from the beginning. Hi. Let's see. Then, if you are arranging for these 5 other participants, what you need is the following. First, what you need to know, the survey will take, I think, less than 15 minutes. Most likely only 10 will do. What you also need to do is, because I have to check somehow where our participants are coming from and if they are coming from you. So what you should ask the participants that you are trying to recruit is to add the ID, your ID, in our survey. Okay, so if your student ID is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and if you ask somebody, would you be willing to participate in that survey for me? What will happen is they will get a question. You were probably approached by somebody from TUE. What was the ID that person gave to you? Like that, I can see how many of the participants that show up are actually coming from you. All anonymity is guaranteed, so your student number will be destroyed at the completion of the data collection. Nobody will ever get all the data back, besides, in principle, me, with your student ID next to it. So all of that will be completely anonymous. It would be nice to have at least some variety in the participants. So if it's possible to include some variety, then try that. Many questions are about, let's say, internet stuff, a little bit about Facebook as well. So it's a good idea, I think, not to ask somebody who has no computer, for instance. Here's my laptop, try to fill out that survey. Okay, if we're then asking something about, are you on Facebook, do you know this, do you know that, and you have to say no all the time, I don't think that's working very well. So we have to have a little bit of variation there, but we need people who are at least a little bit computer savvy. The survey is in Dutch. If it's difficult to find Dutch people for you, contact me after class. And if you want, if you have a Facebook page yourself or are active on Twitter or on a blog or what have you, you can post the link on there in the hope that that will give us a couple more participants to work with. All right. We have two slightly different versions. One is for you, so for, let's say, student-own use. And we have one for the participants that you invite. The only difference is in the first two questions or so. So your first question will be something of the kind, okay, what's your student ID? And for the other persons it will be, okay, in all likelihood, how did you get here? If you were invited by a person from TUE, what was the student ID number? So the first couple questions are a bit different. The rest is exactly the same. We're aiming for... Hi. Nice timing. We're aiming for completion of the whole set by next week. So you have to be able to invite soon. For those who are not here, I will put the screencast of this, if all that is working, online. Otherwise, I'll tape another screencast of the whole thing. And what I will do is, over the weekend, I will let you know, by putting that online, how many of the participants I already have, and based on which student ID. So you can see for yourself, from your own student ID, how many participants you have already delivered. Okay, so the deadline for completion is Tuesday, February 11th, but that's not that you then have to wait until then to start inviting. The thing is already online and it's working, I hope. Okay. No, let me do this first. Any questions about this part? You do it yourself, 5 participants. That's it. Okay? Then, software. We're going to use SPSS, or at least we're going to support SPSS if you are feeling strongly about using something else that can do the same. Stata or R or Stat Graphics or who knows what. Feel free, but it's not supported by us. SPSS itself is a campus software. Anybody who has used SPSS before? One? Okay, so the rest is new. It's, well, you can sort of see it here behind that window. It's a spreadsheet kind of program, so you could think about it as, you know, it's Excel on steroids. So you can do statistics with all the numbers in ways that are easier than just typing in Excel. Yes?
It's available for Mac.
Yes. Yes. Make that a maybe. I think yes. Yeah, I think it's something of the last couple of years. Do you know that by heart?
I think there's like an older version for Mac.
Okay.
I don't know when it's updated. Less frequently, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so the whole support of Macs is relatively recent and only for some of the software packages, but I think SPSS is one of them. And the version of SPSS that you have doesn't matter at all. It's basically all the same. Yeah, so another thing that is good to do is, well, first of all, make sure that you install SPSS if you don't have it on your machine already. And check out a couple of suggestions on how to deal with SPSS. You can see several screencasts over here. There are a couple of screencasts over there. Or simply try YouTube and Google SPSS introduction. You'll get the hang of it pretty soon. Just make sure that you have your laptop ready with SPSS on it by the time that you reach next week's meeting. Okay, only a little bit that I have left, so I'm not going to take a break, but simply continue for a couple more minutes and then we're done. This is the last slide here. So we have on the to-do list, first, that you'll have to complete the survey yourself. Do this seriously and do it alone. We want to have data that are reliable. Arrange for 5 participants to the survey. Try to get some variation in there and make sure that you use the right link. So not the one on top, but the second one over there. Then, as soon as you've seen the actual survey, then you know the kinds of questions that are in there. You could start to get an idea already about the kinds of questions that you could be able to answer with these kinds of data. For that, it's good to, let's say, think ahead also a little bit. Then, to make sure that you can start working as soon as we have the data complete, make sure that you have SPSS installed and browse around a little bit to get a feeling for what it does and how you can work with it. Bring your laptop, will also work. And, well, I hope that I can arrange for the fact that we can all have data to work with as of next week. As I said in the beginning, we're a couple of people short. No, we're a lot of people short, in fact. So I hope that I'm able to reach them soon enough. If you reach them before me, make sure that you let them know, because the sooner they start, the better it is in terms of making sure that we are all on time in the end. If you have any questions about the survey online, something's going wrong online with the survey or what have you, send me an email. I'll try to make sure that I attack that as soon as possible. And in principle, for now, I think that is it.